just time in this day and age is such precious for everybody. Not everybody has it. We were just talking about that earlier. Everybody being too busy, just, competing priorities. So we truly thank you. We are so grateful to have your time here with us today. Before we get started, I'm going to do a few acknowledgments. First, for the Iron Beacon board members, please rise. Brianna, and we have our newest board member, Henry Gatson. You'll meet our executive director in a minute here. The other thing I want to do is give thanks to our Iron Beacon members. So if you are an Iron Beacon member, please rise. And when we think about volunteerism, the first thing that comes to mind for me is connection. So before we do anything, what I'm going to do is ask that everybody turn to a neighbor, introduce yourself, and give them, quick 2 seconds. What made you get up this morning and come share your time with us? Folks, hey, what made you come here today? It's a great way to really start to get to know your community members. And that's really what the fabric of this community is about knowing one another, showing up for one another, and giving back. And that's what brings me to why this event. When we were thinking about Iron Beacon way back in the day, we have what we call our dream list, and we have a lot of events on it. Unfortunately, this event has been on it for a very, very long time. And it's really about, we always, when we're doing our events, folks come to us and they're, hey, I just love what you're doing. How can I get involved? I always want to give back. We have the Spirit of Beacon Day, right? And a lot of people get to know the organizations. But I think what ends up happening, just like what we were saying before, is that you fall into that, that bustle of the holidays and all that. And then before you know it, a whole year has gone by and you're like, I did say I wanted to volunteer. So we wanted to bring a new event to the community so that folks can learn about what it means to volunteer, how do I get started, what does that journey look like, and that's what today's discussion is going to be all about. So with that, as I'm looking at my guy who's looking at the time, I'm going to introduce to you our Executive Director, Reuben Simmons. He's going to lead the discussion today.
Hi everyone, like you heard my sister say, and I don't even know if she introduced herself. She went straight into it. So that's my sister Brooke, and she is the president of Iron Beacon, so thank you for those opening remarks and welcoming. And some of you may be familiar with Iron Beacon. Yes, we have organized over 50 events. We've given over 500 turkeys to families throughout the years. We've given over $35,000 in scholarships to our graduating seniors, and everything has been done fueled by members of this community. The why behind the I is self-accountability and self-responsibility. And as you guys see at this event today, and the more that you network with us, you'll see everything is done in a collaborative event. So I want to extend my thanks for everyone being here. And like Brooke said, I think I was born and raised here. So as the community has transitioned, I'm just prideful in the grassroots efforts that I Am Beacon has been able to transition over time from the vision of building solidarity between city workers and the community. That is the foundation of I Am Beacon, to a nonprofit community organization of organizing events and really being impactful to what's affecting our community. And right now, we're seeing it more than ever, a lot of issues or a lot of impact that we can make as members within the community. So with that said, I'm going to join the panelists up on stage, and I'm nervous and excited. We have a great turnout. I'm here to hear some great advice from them. I hope we get inspired, we get empowered, and I'm looking forward to this. So with that said, I'm going to join the panelists. And so, if some of you may be aware, we do have a podcast called This Is Beacon. So this discussion panel is going to be similar to the way we run our podcast. So I already introduced myself, then we'll go down, and then you can say my name is, and I'm with the organization they're with. And then the rest of the conversation is just going to be free-flowing for the next half hour, 35 minutes. If we can leave time, we'll leave time to get some questions from the audience. If there's something that we didn't hit on, or if there's something that you hear them say that you're like, hold on, I just want you to dive a little bit into that. But like you did hear Brooke say, I do want to be respectful of time, because when volunteering or when giving back, that's one thing that I'm cognizant of. And I Am Beacon for the first 11 years was 100% volunteerism, and the whole thing I always put, as our board was growing, with personally, professionally, or in growing their families, you have to respect it, because that's the most valuable thing that somebody can give you. So we'll make sure that we do that today too. You guys ready to get started?
Yeah, sure.
All right, and I tried to do as much as I could to prepare, and I tried to prepare them enough. But then when Denise hit me with this morning, like, well, I know I didn't get any questions, but I'm not afraid of any anyway. With the expertise up here, I don't think you will be. So thank you for that. So like I said, my name is Reuben, but I'll start right here to my left.
My name is Kramer. I'm the priest in charge here at St. Andrews and St. Luke's, so welcome.
Good morning, I'm Denise VanBuren. I'm president of the Beacon Historical Society. We're going to be celebrating our 50th anniversary next year, and since 1976 we have been 100% all volunteer driven.
I'm Lanier, longtime Beacon resident, military retiree. I moved back to Beacon after I retired. I have been volunteering in Beacon for a while. I was director of Beacon Junior Baseball. I was on a couple of the boards for the city under Mayor Casale. I'm currently a member of the Elks. I manage the scholarship program here in Beacon, and I also manage the district Elks scholarship program, which encompasses several scholarships for about 8 lodges in the area.
My name is Randy Casale. I'm the former mayor of the city of Beacon. I was born and raised in Beacon, New York. I did a lot of volunteer work in the city of Beacon. I coached Pop Warner football a little bit. I volunteered and coached modified baseball and a modified JV football team at the high school. I'll tell you a funny story that I got paid to coach the JV boys basketball team, but after the first year coaching, the board was going through tough times and they eliminated all the JV sports. And one of the kids' mothers called me one day and said, how much does it cost to run a JV basketball program? I said, I have no idea. I know my salary is probably one of the biggest costs. They pay me $1,100 a year. I said, but I'm willing to do it for nothing if it means we'll have a JV basketball program. So the board said, okay. I coached the basketball season. They put back all the JV programs. All the JV coaches got paid except me. The union said to me, if you put in a voucher, they have to pay you. I said, I told them I volunteer. I will not put a voucher in. I do this because I love doing it. And if it means volunteer to do it, I'll continue to do it anyway. So that was part of it. I watered the flowers on Main Street for the Tyronian Garden Club for many years so they would stay alive. And I was on the planning board, so I did a lot of volunteer work in the city over the years.
Yeah, so I think in that introduction alone, I think you can see why I'm excited to have this panel join me. And Randy did bring up something to my mind. I also wanted to acknowledge Mayor Lanier, who wanted to be with us, but he was unavailable. But luckily, Randy's always around and available. And also, we do have Councilman Jeff Demansky, Ward 2, with us today. And sometimes we forget our critiqueness, yeah. But I just want to dive right into it. And I'm going to start with Father. Can I call you Father Chuck? Yeah. I know the congregation does, like I feel like I'm part of it. How does volunteerism contribute to the overall well-being of the growth in a community like Beacon?
Well, we're going to start off with a church doesn't exist without volunteers because almost everything that the church does, just keeping it running, is volunteers. The other part of that is because a church is part of the community and an integral part of the community. St. Andrew St. Luke's has been here a long time. And even as we were speaking, they're cleaning up from the food pantry, which is of all volunteer work, part of this community. Being here in this space is part of our volunteer work. It takes volunteers to make the space function. And it's an important part of our work. So for me, and I should let you know, I've been the priest in charge here for a month and a half. I am about as newcomer as you can get here. So what I'm talking about is maybe more general because where I've been working with volunteer stuff, it's been somewhere else. But for the month and a half that I've been here, the amount of work I see that is all volunteer is important. I will say that coming from the church perspective, it's really important to be integrated into the community. Where I was before, which was up in Hyde Park, we were so involved in so many of the aspects of the community life. One of the things we did, and is still going on, I'm glad to hear, was an after-school reading program, which we got teachers to identify kids who in first and second grade needed help with reading. And we coordinated a group of volunteers, first just at the church, and then after 2 years, the principal came to me and said, you know what? I can double the number of kids you serve if you bring it into the school, into the library after school. So we did that, and we were serving 20, 30 kids every year. So I left there, you know.
Yeah, I think I really value the fact that you put the church component on it. You know, because I was raised Catholic. I go to Baptist church. I come to Christian church. I go to church because I just need to hear the word where I need to hear it. But so I think I'm going to give this question to all of you guys because you guys all have a different a background of volunteerism. So thank you for that. And Denise, I'm going to give you the same question. Do you remember it? You want me to repeat it?
I would like you to repeat it. I'm dealing with an old woman here.
Very skilled. I'm trying to do my best impersonation of controlling time and work the crowd. I see how she does at her galas. So the question is, how does volunteerism contribute to the overall well-being and growth of a community like Beacon?
You don't have to be in Beacon very long. Maybe a morning, maybe an afternoon, maybe a week, maybe a month or a year, and you sense there's something very special about Beacon. Am I right?
Yes.
There is an attitude and a feeling here in this community that permeates everything we do, and it's evidence today that all of you came out, as we mentioned, busy Saturday morning. There are many things that you could be doing, but we're here to talk about how we can make Beacon even better. That all goes back to the spirit of Beacon, which we celebrate every September as a community. But so much of what happens here happens because of volunteerism. The Tyranda Garden Club that Randy mentioned takes care of our beautiful street displays. All of our youth sports, most of that is done through volunteerism. As a community, we couldn't grow. We would not be the community we are if we did not have a strong sense of volunteerism. And you know what? What motivates you to volunteer is different from what motivates me. And that's the beauty of volunteerism. You can find something that interests you, that you have a passion for. For me, it has been largely, historical organizations, the Historical Society, the VanBuren Homestead, which many of you know. I've been involved in St. John's Church and St. Joachim's Church and other community groups for many years. But for me, I found a passion in history, and that, and which I will end on for you, is what I think makes a community. When you understand the history of your community, you understand the stories behind St. Andrew's Church or St. Luke's Church or Main Street in Beacon or what happened in urban renewal in Beacon. You need to understand your history to understand your community, and that's why we as volunteers do what we do. I want to recognize Diane Lapis, who's in the back. Diane's a past president, and our job is to make sure that all these great new people who are discovering Beacon retain that essence that I talked about, retain what is our sense of community. We're not Beacon anymore if we've lost our soul, because we've got too many high-rises and too many new people. It's up to all of us here who love Beacon to make sure that the volunteer ethic stays here and the love of community remains in this town we know as Beacon.
Yeah, I told you, real conversations.
Yeah.
Your perspective.
I need a question again myself. I'm not as good as you think.
How does volunteerism contribute? And then this is so important because you hit on it as Beacon is growing. So that's why I wanted to hit this question with all your perspectives. How does volunteerism contribute to the overall well-being and growth of a community like Beacon?
Well, from my perspective, I'll talk about when I was a volunteer of Beacon Junior Baseball League. Athletics brings a lot of things to a community. It, number one, brings people together from the community for one purpose, to play sport together. It provides fitness to kids. It provides structure as well, too. And for those kids that may not have the opportunity to be involved in something or may not have the opportunity to play a sport, it gives them that time to learn about others and learn about certain things and learn with other people. And I do it because I want kids in Beacon to have the opportunities I had. When I grew up, there were people that volunteered in the community. There were people that volunteered umpires. People volunteered at the concession stand. And I always wondered, why do these people do that? You know, why? You know, why give your time and not get paid for it? I mean, I think that I thought about that at the time, but they're doing it because it's for the love of that community. It really is. And in order for a community to sustain themselves, sustain the history, sustain the culture that people from Beacon in the 60s to people in Beacon now have developed, to sustain that, we have to give love to our community. We have to embrace what we have, and we have to develop that culture of community. So I volunteer because I want that culture to remain here. I want somebody to look at Beacon and look at these kids and say, I'm going to give of myself at no cost. And really, in the end, the benefit is all mine.
Well, that is an excellent point. You grow, you make friends. It's good for your business, no matter what you do. You meet people in the community. And I can't speak for every organization, but for us, we have a lot of fun doing it.
Yeah.
It's enjoyable. It's a growth opportunity for you.
And what's amazing is when you volunteer in an organization and there's kids there and they don't know who you are, you're doing all this stuff behind the scenes. They just think it happens. You know, somebody made this happen, I don't know who it is. And then all of a sudden you see this kid later, and they're a business owner, they're a doctor, they're being successful. You can look at that, and part of your legacy is help that kid get there because you volunteered your time. And so you're part of that building block. You know, in the end, we will never know what our legacy is, but by volunteering, it can create a tremendous ripple in the ocean.
Yeah, no, I believe you, and I'm just going to repeat it. How does volunteerism contribute to overall well-being and growth for a community like Beacon?
Well, I'm going to take it from a personal level. When I was a young boy, my mother and father were divorced. A guy lived next door to me who was a POW, prisoner of war. He came home. He volunteered in his community. He coached CYO basketball, which is Catholic Youth Organization. He coached Babe Ruth baseball. He was a great coach. He instilled discipline. He took me under his wing and taught me discipline. And as I grew older, my life almost mirrored his life. I started coaching. I became the mayor. He was the mayor of Beacon. And by him giving me that life experience, it gave me an outlook of what I wanted to do with my life in a way forward. And so when I think about volunteerism, I think about it lot of ways, and as being the mayor of the city, I know this community cannot survive without our volunteers. It's one of the most important things that we have. And when I think about it, I think about some of our most important boards that the people put in hours and hours of work and don't receive a dime. The Board of Education, one of the most important boards in the city of Beacon. People work hard, day in, day out, day in and day out, to give back to this community and make our education system the best they can. And they take a lot of flack from people doing that. But they do it because they're doing it for the right reason. And I respect them. The planning board, they go to meetings and spend hours and hours and hours. And no matter what they do, 50% like it, 50% don't like it. But they do it with their best interest of the city, and they do it to the best of their ability, and I really respect them. The zoning board, the tax assessory board, all those boards are non-paying jobs that are thankless jobs, because no matter what you do, you're going to get criticism. So I respect all those volunteers that are the fabric of our community that makes it run. When I was a kid, Robert talked about junior baseball. All our athletic leagues in the city of Beacon, the fields were built with a collaboration between the volunteers doing work in the city of Beacon lending equipment. All the fields over Memorial Park were built by volunteers. And a lot of kids went through them programs and received good coaching and good training. CYO, the churches. Mickey McKenzie sitting right over there. He played a lot of basketball. He tutored a lot of kids right out here on that blacktop for St. Andrews. They played in the church league, the rec league. The Recreation Commission in Beacon used to be all volunteer. Nobody got paid. They ran all the programs. I mean, that's what I think about volunteerism. And I think what you get out of volunteerism is you get joy and feel good about yourself because you know you're giving back to your community. And that's why I do.
Yeah, and I don't think you could ask for more. And I gave Randy a little bit more time to talk there because he took his other questions, so now I can cross that one off. So Randy said he coached JV basketball. That's when I first met Randy in 1997 when I tried out for the JV team. Didn't like the guy. He yelled at me. But all through my high school career, he used to always preach. One day you're gonna have to get back. You're gonna get back. You're gonna get back. So I think right there, I had to allow you extra time because I think you also answered on why it was so important to you in preaching to the youth at a young age on why they're here. And look at me giving back. So full circle. So with that, I want to bounce it to Rob and say, Rob, I'm saying with the transition of the city, with people that are in the community, or even people that are here today, what advice could you give them to someone who's thinking like, well, I want to volunteer more, but I just don't know how to start? Because I think we heard some history of where people just did it. You know, but right now, I think some people don't know how to take that first step forward. What advice would you give them on where to start?
Walk anywhere in Beacon, and where you see something happening, ask how can I be a part of that. Go to the baseball field, and if you see a game going on, and you feel you've got something you can provide to that, ask them how you can be a part of that. Say, hey, how can I help? You go to the soccer fields, go to the softball fields. When there's Spirit of Beacon Day, walk down, and if you see an organization and it piques your interest, ask them, how can I help? How can I lend a hand to make your organization stronger? How can I lend a hand to make your organization provide more to this community that I'm now a part of? You know, if you've moved here and you have a skill, provide that skill to the community, because that's what builds our community. When everybody says, I have a brick, and I'm going to put that brick here. And when everybody puts a brick together, then we have a foundation. And through that foundation, we serve our community.
I will add that, you know, it's not new anymore, but the internet and social media has changed the way that you can find organizations with which you would like to volunteer. 20 years ago, that really wasn't an option. We were very siloed. The organizations know what our particular interests are. But if you just search for things going on in Beacon or organizations in Beacon and you find one, take a couple for a test drive, go to their meetings, go to their events. You know, like you're coming today to this forum. Find out what the group is about. And I will tell you that the key to worthwhile and satisfying volunteerism is finding something that is a good fit for you. I worked for Central Hudson for 26 years. I was the vice president in charge of all of our community relations. And the employees would come to me all the time looking for a good volunteer. What would be good for me to volunteer? And we were active with the Cancer Society, Big Brothers, Big Sisters, the Walkway Over the Hudson, you name it. The person that's volunteering has to feel a connection and find a passion in the organization, or they'll go to a couple of meetings and all of a sudden they'll drift away, and something will be more important than coming out on a nice Saturday morning to support them. And it's too easy for that creep to happen. So you have to find a connection with something that really resonates with you.
Yeah, so you can pick that up, but I just wanted to interject real quick and say, so would you say that is one of the biggest challenges when engaging more people to get involved?
That they have to find something that's a good fit for them. Don't, if you're not interested in, like, for example, our historical society, don't try to force yourself into that just because it meets your schedule. Conveniently, you're free on Saturday afternoons when we're open. If you prefer to be with the garden club and beautifying Beacon, and that's your fit, shop around. Don't feel the first thing you go to, you have to feel compelled to volunteer with them. Maybe you're somebody who would really love the group down at the Sloop Club, who does such great things, or the folks at St. Rocco's. There are so many organizations here that are thirsty for your talents. You find the one that works for you.
No, I was actually going to pretty much just say the same thing. The first step in volunteering is knowing yourself, is looking within and seeing, what am I called to? I know that's church speak, being called, but what's reaching out to me? And the other part is kind of listening to the voices out there saying, come to us, or we need help. In church, where I say, if something's needed, somebody will ask you. And if you ask, that's your opportunity to hear. So, first of all, what do you love? And then second of all, am I listening to what's needed? Those are the two big things, I think, for finding. And with the internet, it's pretty easy to find stuff.
Yeah. No, and when we talk about volunteering, we talk about a lot of individual volunteering and getting involved. So I'll say with you, Father Chuck, on this one. What are some ways local businesses or institutions can help volunteerism within the community?
Well, obviously I'm going to start with the church. But the first thing I think in the church is looking out in the community to see what's needed. And then persons literally come to me, and I have a saying, I said that on my first Sunday, if you come to me saying, we ought to do this, I always say, congratulations, you're in charge. and I don't mean that to be too flip, other than it's a great idea, it needs somebody to do it. You've got this energy, this passion for it, take it on. So part of it is just being given permission to go ahead and do something. I think that's the first step. And the other part is organizations communicating with each other. And this is really good networking right here, because I love the Historical Society in general, and I think I'm going to like this one here. But there's so much that the organizations can do in concert with each other. So I'm not sure if I can go beyond that.
Yeah.
Those are two important things.
Yeah, and if anyone knows I Am Beacon, we've survived on the power of collaboration, so I'm glad you touched on that.
Yeah.
Rob, did you want to add something?
I was, they were talking before about find something that you're passionate about, something you're committed to. But the other thing is when you do volunteer, when you jump in with both feet, both hands, and your heart, you've got to know that you're also investing a lot of your time.
Yes.
And it really takes a lot of time management. When I was the director of the Beacon Junior Baseball League, I was also going to college. I was also the assistant manager at Friendlies in Fishkill, and I also lived in Hyde Park at the time because it was easier for me to go to school. So I am living in Hyde Park, coming to Beacon to manage baseball, working at Friendlies in Fishkill, going to school, coming back here. It was time management like crazy. And my little Subaru wagon was like a mini home. The back seats were always down. I had a sleeping bag in there. I screwed a light into there because some nights I would sleep behind Friendlies because I closed the store, and then I would sleep in my car, study, go to bed, wake up the next morning, open the store, go up to Marist, go to class, kind of wipe myself down and try to be presentable. But, but I mean, it was when you're investing your time in this stuff, you've got to manage your time, and you really want to, it's an investment. And that's one thing you've got to be aware of. If you're going to volunteer, know that it's going to be time invested.
Yeah, and stars are aligning, because you stole Denise's next question. But I'll let you get a word on it if you want it, but then it's going to go to Denise, because you just told me more about you, and you could Google Denise and then you see what she does. So I wanted Denise and Randy to rectify. What do you say when someone says, I don't have the time? Because you just walked right into all that you did, and I'm just saying, like, yeah, what was that time schedule like? So what do you say when someone doesn't have time?
You know what I always say to people? Oh, I make the time. You make the time for things that matter to you. And so people will often say to me, how do you balance? Because I'm currently the board chair of a national memorial in Washington, D.C. I'm the past president of a national organization. I was working at the same time. I had 3 kids. And people would say, how do you do that? And I say, I make the time. But on that same note, let me say to you that if you step forward and you take a leadership role in an organization, maybe as a board member, please take it seriously. Everybody has busy lives. Everybody has a lot of plates that are spinning, and they're trying to keep them all spinning at the same time. But that organization is counting on you, and they need good volunteers. And there's nothing worse than, for example, when you have somebody to take on a role, as a treasurer or a secretary of an organization, or somebody that's in charge of a certain program, and you drop the ball because you find you're too busy, or you're not interested, you're not committed enough. So you have to make the time for it, but you also have to make it a priority in your life, I guess, is what I'm saying. Because too many people are counting on you to not do so.
Amen to that. Robert, you want to add to that?
Yeah, for me, it's a personal investment. I mean, if you want your community, your county, your state, your country to be better, you've got to invest in it. And you've got to invest yourself. You are the currency. And you have to invest in your community to make it better. I mean, I don't have the time. Okay. I mean, make time. You have to do it. It is imperative that you invest in your community. That's the only way a community gets better.
Yeah. Randy, I'm intrigued on your perspective.
Well, I agree. You got to make the time to do it. I wore many hats in the city. I was a highway superintendent for 30 years. On Saturdays when there was cleanups, I would go and volunteer my time and help clean up with the people. When I was mayor, I tried to go to everything that was going on in the city. I made the time to do that. But what I can say to people that don't have time, we're an aging community. It takes 2 minutes to check on your neighbor. That's volunteerism. Look out for your senior neighbors. Make sure they're doing okay. If they need something and they can't get it for them. That doesn't take a lot of time. So the excuse that I don't have time is a poor excuse to me. You can make time to do some kind of volunteerism to help your community. And as an aging community, there's a lot of seniors out there that can use somebody to look out for them. And if that's all the time you got, that's what I recommend you look into doing.
Thank you for that. Do you want to add anything?
They did a pretty good job.
I agree.
The only other thing I would say about this, and this just comes from my perspective, is when you volunteer, you also have to make sure that most people are part of a family. And it's really helpful if you're volunteering, especially if you're volunteering for something that consumes a lot of time, that your family's on board. Because if you're fighting with them so that you can have the time, that's going to make you distracted. So you really have to make sure that your family's on board with whatever you're doing as well, so that you've got the support to do it. But other than that, I think they did.
Yeah, I think I'll also do a shameless plug for I Am Beacon, because when people tell me they don't have time, I say, well, I'll also take your dollars. Because as a growing organization, we're seeing the hardship of the economics to it. So like this event wasn't in our budget, but it was so passionate on the board that they wanted to get it done. This event costed dollars. So our membership is really, it's not driven to just try and get your dollars, but it's like, if you're saying, well, I can at least contribute this much, and I do it myself with Beacon Historic Society, like, I just want to make sure I'm doing my part, so wherever it can be. So I try to say, it's either your time, your dollars, spreading the word. And like I said, you just hit the share button on like me on social media, you know? That doesn't cost you anything. So I think sometimes we have to give the education on what we need on like how you can support. And it's not always, well, I need you to show up and be here for the next 9 hours, you know? And so I thank you for that perspective. But
you asked one question before, how can businesses help? You know, back in the day, junior baseball, the kids never had to pay a dime to play junior baseball. The businesses, each team was named after a business, not after a baseball team. Main Coaching Cycle, you know, Knights of Columbus, them organizations put the money up front for them kids to play baseball. The umpires donated their time. You didn't have to pay $50 to join a league or $100 to join a league. All the leagues were sponsored by somebody. The churches sponsored teams in the rec leagues. So that's how the businesses can help. And right now, I know the businesses are struggling, and I know every day somebody's knocking on their door for a donation. So it's not that they don't help. I believe they do help. I mean, Key Food, they donate and they put time into everything that they have been doing that since they opened their store in this community. So I work at the Roosevelt Bar. Every day somebody's coming in asking for something. Very seldom does Marco say no. He'll write some kind of check to them, minimum, but he'll always give something. I mean, and I'm sure most businesses do that. So I'm sure a lot of businesses in this city. That's why it's important that we shop local and we support our businesses, because we expect them to give back to us. The only way they can do that is if we're giving to them. That's the way a business can happen.
I just would love to see a show of hands here of how many people remember the quote-unquote good old days of like IBM and Texaco here in the community. So a seismic shift in how volunteer operations occurred here in communities like Beacon happens in the early 90s. IBM closes up its plant. Texaco is now number one. The Nabisco factory, which is today DIA, that large employment base has disappeared. So companies that would have allowed employees like me, I worked at Central Hudson, to do volunteer work, those big companies don't exist anymore. And it's probably unrealistic to expect that small business that might have 1 or 2 employees are able to backfill the need for employees. So that's a big change in a community like ours, to lose those big employers. But we have stepped forward, you know, through people like you to fill the gap.
Yeah, and just to piggyback off that, a lot of when we do the reception, the bagels were donated from Bagelish, so be sure to try those because it's not always dollars, you know. And Key Food and all the food was donated by Key Food. We always support in-kind stuff because we're cognizant of that. And when we started I Am Beacon, we refused to knock on the door because there's so many nonprofits doing that. Like we were adamant that we're just going to prove concept and we're just going to make it happen. So
and the other thing is, any business can help. And you know, it's funny when Randy was talking about that. It made me think about when the Beacon Soccer League started way back in the day, and Pat Kerr started the league. And when you looked at the teams, that it might be really frowned upon now, but all the teams, well, most of the teams were bars, intimate lounge, Zeps, Myros. I mean, it's like what, these kids are running around. They're like 6 years old with an intimate lounge shirt on. It's like, you know, I mean, would you do that today for a kid? I mean, no. But bars got involved. Local businesses got involved because they saw a value in the organization. And so any business can really be a part of volunteers.
And I don't know about you guys, but I feel we're having a great discussion, and I just want to keep it going, but I'll make sure I'm going to stay committed to your time. So I'm going to transition. I think we talked about volunteering, how people can give back, how businesses and institutions. I want to give a little bit of perspective because we also do have participating organizations that are here. So there's something that always comes up in conversation with the way Beacon has now transformed. When I grew up here, we had 2 community centers. So I came from the BCC and I spent time at the former Martin Luther King Center, which used to be on the corner here. So spacing always comes up. The Holland Public Library. Hey Michelle, how you doing? She does a great job. They have the BCC that I'm prideful to come from is now the rec center. But I'm gonna start with Father Chuck on this one because part of having this event here was to show this space, the history here, to show the church, and then we'll be networking soon in a little bit. What are opportunities now for organizations to find space within Beacon to utilize for board meetings, for events, for programming?
I'm so glad you're here because this space is exactly for that. One of the whole purposes of St. Andrew's building here being the way it is now is that the church really wanted to have the whole community be here as often as possible. This space is intended to be used a lot. So, I mean, the congregation renamed it St. Andrew St. Luke's. Am I going to get it wrong, Andrew? It's community center, yeah?
It was outreach.
Outreach center, I knew that.
Okay.
Keep them up.
But the whole idea is this building is right in the middle of town, and it's been so much a part of the life of the community already that although we're currently not worshiping here, the work, and I'll say the work of God goes on here. This is part of that. And the idea is that as many organizations as possible will use this space. I mean, we have to still keep it functioning. We do charge some, I think, just to keep the place running. But we try to make that reasonable so that we can have good work happening here as often as possible. Some of it from the church, some of it from other organizations like I Am Beacon. So this space is for you.
Well, thank you, and thank you for allowing us to hold this community forum here today. So we'll give you a loud round of applause. Because the Beacon Historical Society, you have moved from place to place with finding space and stuff.
Largely because we kept growing and needing more space. And we're currently at the former rectory of St. Joachim's Church on Leonard Street. And we're open Thursdays, 10 to noon, and Saturdays, 1 to 3. We would have loved to have found a location, right on our vibrant Main Street where thousands of people could be exposed to the history of Beacon. Impossible to do in a community where rents are now high and people want to come here. That's the flip side, right, of all this wonderful work. Is in fact, it was difficult for us to be able to stay right in the heart of downtown. But we're thriving where we are. We're very pleased with it. And, it's something that we believe that people will come for. We're making it a destination through our exhibits and our meeting and our collections that we have. But space is a premium. We can't fit our meetings in there. We had one the other night with 58 people. Sometimes we'll get 100 people to a meeting. And we've been so fortunate that the Elks Club, which is such a great community partner. If you're not an Elk at this point in your life, shame on you. Because they do great things for youth, for scholarships, for so many things. And they allow us to have our meetings in their beautiful lodge where there's plenty of parking. So that's a good fit for us. But I agree with you, finding space, for example, the Howland Cultural Center, hard to find a more beautiful place. But let me tell you, on a summer evening, when you have 50, 60 people coming to one of our meetings, to find parking around there and have people come out at night, now that people live in those apartments again, awful hard to find a parking spot. If you can find a space, you can't find parking space to go with it. So it is an issue.
Yeah, and Rob, so you mentioned that you're part of the Elks.
I know, that was a nice little plug for that.
And so,
We're both Elks.
and as you said, how important is it to have that space? How much are you able to accomplish, get done? And I know we also open the doors to organizations that are looking for.
Yeah, I think when you're looking for space, there's always usually a nominal fee. But if you can find a place that nominal fee will not only help your organization have a meeting, but it will also help that other organization that has a space survive. I am very partial to the church here. This is my church. I was baptized in this church. You look at it as a mother here. So this church means a lot to me. And the survival of this church, the structure, means a lot to me. But the survival of other churches, the survival in Beacon, the survival of organizations, the Elks, St. Rocco's, the Knights of Columbus, things of that sort. There's a lot of places that have space for you to hold a meeting. And those places, some of those places have been here for hundreds of years. And the thing about when we talk about maintaining the culture of the community, we want to see those places survive. I love seeing the Howell Cultural Center, because the Howell Cultural Center, when I was a kid, was the library. And we walked up the stairs to get books after going through the cards in the Dewey Decimal System. Yeah, I don't know how they do it now. It's probably just on a computer, but my goodness, we struggled back in the day. It was real. But it's still good to see that building, because that building was something I remember as a kid. This church is what I remember as a kid. And if we come here, even for a nominal fee, and your organization participates here, it's helping this building stay here. It's helping that part of the community stay in the community.
Yeah. So we may transition a little bit, because we did get a good idea of utilizing the space that is available. But one thing that has been a hot topic in this community for a few years, I'll just leave it at a few years, surveys and conversations and I touched on the fact that there was 2 of them when I was a kid, and today that we lack having it at all, is a community center. So Randy, I'm going to bring it to you on what do you think the benefit of this community, how can this community really benefit from a community center? What would that look like?
Well, when I was mayor, I had a vision of building a community center, and I envisioned it as being a building that would be able to do athletic sports in it, have other events in it, have meeting rooms in it, have a big kitchen in it so people could cook in it, and have rooms in it where we could do what Father Chuck said about helping kids from school that needed tutoring and everything. If you tutor in the school most of the time, the unions argue that the teachers need to get the money overtime to do the tutoring. They don't want volunteers to come in. So my idea was, and we proposed plans to the state a bunch of times for that $10 million grant. And I had the athletic director at Beacon High School collaborate with me. I wanted to build the building on the lower half of Hammond's Field. If you're familiar, it sits down by Verplank Avenue. And the reason for that is both our schools, our high school and our middle school, are right there. The kids walk by there every day, so coming home from school, it would be a great place for them to go, especially if they needed to get tutored. And, you know, Reuben will tell you, I'm a pretty strict person when I coach and stuff. I wouldn't allow nobody to go there and do any recreation activity in that building unless they were keeping their grades up. So if they weren't keeping their grades up, there'd be tutors there to help them. Then they could do recreation. But I believe education is important. Sometimes I believe you got to push the kid to the point that they want to do education. But then you have the upper field, which is an outside facility where you could go run, do, walk, and everything. But I just thought it's in the center of town. It would fit beautiful for the city. You have a kitchen so community groups could cook in there and do things. You could help you know, when I talked about volunteerism, I failed to mention during the COVID, groups came out and hosted food stuff, and they still do it today. You know, they give food out over at Memorial Park and volunteer every day, every week. They could run their program out of there. It could help a lot of people, and that was my vision for a big, nice community center that would fit everybody in the city. And I thought if the school got involved, in fact, I was to the point where I had a developer willing to take over our rec center and put money into our new building, so that would be part of the financing that we could get. So that was my vision that I had for a rec center when I was the mayor. Growing up in Beacon, they had Martin Luther King here, which was Wright Park, the building right on the corner. They did a lot of after-school programs. They had NSO, which was on West Center Street, but it was really started out in the old Beacon Hotel, the Holland Hotel on Main Street, where the county offices are. There was a 3-story hotel there, and that's where the first community center started in Beacon. But I believe if they built a a good one, a nice one. It would really enhance the community. It would help the kids. And I just thought that was an excellent piece of property that's shared by the school district in the city of Beacon, which was donated to them by the Elks Club. So I really believe that was my vision, if you ask me.
I would have loved to have seen the old Beacon High School become more of a community center.
Yeah, me too, but I kind of think, you know, being married sometimes I have different thoughts because there's cost, and that old high school is high maintenance to maintain.
But
You know,
it's
had
a
asbestos
landmark.
pipes in it, had everything else. So before I would take it over and try to do it, I really believe the maintenance of that building would cost the community a fortune. When you could build a modern facility that you could do the utilities green and keep the costs down, and I just think it's not the right building for it at the time. And I really believe it should be all on one floor when you're talking about seniors.
Well, thank you for that perspective, and as you can see, this is why I wanted this panel. You know, I think I could sit up here for another 45 minutes to an hour, but I'm going to stop there. I think we did a lot of giving some first steps of how you can volunteer, businesses approach. We touched base on spacing and community center. So I want to thank you guys again. Can we give them a round of applause? Today's event was put on with partnership of St. Andrews and St. Luke's, allowing us to utilize the space of Key Food and Bagelish, helping us out with make sure we had refreshments for you guys. And also Kai, Micah, and Sarah, are you with us? Can you guys stand? Those are volunteers from the National Honor Society, and one of them is going to come up here, right? Or no? I don't want to put you on the spot if you're too nervous. Yeah. And then could you just give everyone like a brief of what the National Honor Society is and what brought you guys here to help out with us today?
So the National Honor Society is it's an organization that's nationwide, and typically high schools do it. Middle schools also have a National Junior Honor Society. And basically what it is it is an organization that encourages students to, one, do well in scholarship. So students who are eligible for it typically have an 85 or above average and are in good standing in their school, so know things like disciplinary action and things like that. We also encourage leadership, so it's something to really encourage you to go out into your community and start taking up roles that you typically wouldn't put yourself in to teach leadership. And then community service is probably the biggest one. So in high school, every year, that you're in it, you need 45 hours of community service. And so we do this to increase outreach to the community. So basically, students are given the opportunity to go to organizations within Beacon or in the area, not just in Beacon, and they learn how to give back to their community. So one of the really big ones for the High School Honor Society is the food pantry. So we just recently started collaborating with the food pantry here, but we have been going with the one at the Beacon Rec Center for a really long time. And so what that is every week there's a food pantry, and that one we really encourage students to get into to get their hours. So overall, it's just an organization to encourage this sort of outreach, especially in young people, because we don't get that much from young people. They don't really know kind of how to get out into their community. They don't know of it, and so we try to teach that through the meetings there and just everything that we do. So yeah, one of the reasons that, at least for the three of us that we showed up today, is that we've been in the organization for the last 2 years, which is when it's available. And we're all either officers or previous officers, so we've been really into it, and so kind of getting the opportunity to be here and work with I Am Beacon and just increase that outreach and just make NHS kind of integrated with community more is something we wanted to do. So that's fun.
There are all many organizations here. When you guys are looking for help, reach out to the National Honor Society. They got an army. There was Honor Society students downstairs in the pantry. They were up here. They helped us out with our block party, and I thank them for showing up. And I wanted to give them at least a platform to explain what they do. And as she said, reach out to them. Thank you.
We're always looking for more organizations. Yeah.
All right, so as we close out, we'll head downstairs. We have more light refreshments, and we'll do more networking and organizations. You can find the organizations that are here today. You can find out more about them, what they do, how you can help with them. So I will be clear. If you're not part of IMB, you can shame on you. No. So, but seriously though, I would love everyone to be a part of IMB. And you are the reason why we opened up the membership. Membership is very new for us. It's very easy to become a member. You can scan the QR code downstairs. But the why behind the I is self-accountability and self-responsibility. So if you're doing anything in Beacon, volunteering at one of these new organizations that you met with, if you got your kids participating in an organization, if you work here, you live here, you donate to another organization, you are doing the work in the essence of what IM Beacon stands for. So when you see me wear my I Am Beacon shirt, yeah, be proud to say, well, I am Beacon too. You know, that makes me feel proud. And I think over time we were able to show what we're about and bring that type of perspective to the community. When I first wore it, people thought I was just Beacon, and I was like, yo, no, it don't work like that. This is a big city. I do what I do. I started out coaching volunteer and youth football and the basketball program, Beacon Hoops. So that's what I do, you know. And what I found by I Am Beacon, by the expansion of I Am Beacon is even now with people moving into the community, and thanks to Rob, he's like one of our big advocates. Like, yeah, check them out. You want to get Bob? Check them. So and then they'll say, oh yeah, and then I'll let them know what we do. We have our back to school block party. We got our 5K. That's a scholarship fundraiser for the high school. And they'll say, oh yeah, that's so cool, but I'm in fitness. And I'm like, oh, so you might want to do with Beacon Endurance. So we're all about connecting. So yes, I would love for you to all be I Am Beacon, but if you're doing things in Beacon, you are I Am Beacon too. So be proud of that. So I want to, again, thank everyone for coming today. Obviously, as the event happened, I do want to make a couple more acknowledgments. So LaVon McNair is here. She does sit on the school board. She left? She did. And you're next. Molly has joined us, council person from Ward 1. And like I said, we do have a podcast. It's on anywhere you listen to podcasts. This is Beacon. It's on Spotify, Google, Apple. Denise has an episode with us. You can learn more about her and all the terrific work that she does, because she didn't even touch on her being, I got it in my notes, Miss Teen New York. And Rob talked so much, we ended up having to do a two-part episode with him. So thank you, and they touched on it, the history. We have a great 2 episodes that we're definitely going to put out more on urban renewal, but we want you to get accustomed to that. And as I'm looking in the crowd, there's some people that we have on it. So check out the podcast, you can learn more, and that's our audio scrapbook of trying to capture the stories of this great city and let people know what makes a city what it is, because this community and my vision about community is every individual has a contribution to the community. So whatever it is that you do is what makes the community what it is. So I do not want to live in a community that goes in one direction. You know, I need that diversity, I need that different perspective, and that's what I value. So I want to thank everyone for coming, and I hope that you enjoy us downstairs for some light refreshments and more networking.
How about